Good morning, everybody. This is Don Tchaikovsky with Fidelity National Title, and Happy New Year to our first Market of the Moment of 2021. Before we went live, I was joking with some of the folks you see on your screen right now about how this really needs to be the last week for Happy New Year's, right? Because we're halfway through January. So we're halfway through the first month of the year, and it is going fast, and there is a lot going on. So thank you all for checking us out today, and thank you for our amazing panel to make the time to be here today. I would like to do a quick introduction. We're going to do things a little bit different than we've been doing in the past. We're going to do our updates. So if those are, we're going to save those to the end. So we're going to be doing those a little bit later. But I am excited and pleased always to be joined by Miss Sharon Terhune. Thank you, Sharon.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
And I'm sure most of you know Sharon, but she is the sales manager and vice president of sales for Fidelity National Title. So thank you so much, Sharon.
Thank you for having me.
And then the owner of the Amy Jones Group, Miss Mindy Jones Alvarez. Mindy, thank you so much for being part of this today. Thank you.
Good morning, guys.
And here to provide all kinds of insights, but also insights into what's happening into the mortgage industry, Miss Amber Kavarik of Guild Mortgage. Thank you so much, Amber. Thank you for being on.
Thank you. Good morning.
And we are also excited to hear the updates of what's happening and are we seeing any shifts in inventory? And I know there's been some ticking up of interest rates, and we can talk about what that means, and we're going to get to that here in a little while. But I'm very excited to welcome Mr. Ty Lusk of the Kenny Klaus Team as our special guest today. So, Ty, thank you so much for making the time to join us.
This is awesome. I'll do anything for you, Don. You're the man.
I appreciate it, Ty. Thank you so much. So, and Ty, I think you're probably one of the most well-known faces out there in our industry, especially in the East Valley. But you get around everywhere. And I think when I started, and so this summer will be 7 years that I've been at Fidelity, and when I started, you were one of the first people I had the pleasure of meeting, and I'm like, gosh, this guy's energy is just amazing, and nothing's changed. That's still the case 7 years later, 6.5 years later, that you've got this amazing energy. And as we're starting this year and coming out of the holidays, I think that we've all kind of looked at so many of our involvements in our giving, right? And we've discussed that on here in the past as well, as how we give back to the community. And one of the reasons I wanted to start with Ty this year was because we always talk about what our goals are, and we've talked about business goals, and we've talked about so many of those things that we want to focus on. But I know there are so many people in this business that are committed to giving back, right? Giving back to the community that supports us. And Ty has just been a shining example of somebody who makes that part of his life every year. And so first, congratulations for that, Ty. And I'm going to have a lot of questions for you about how you make that happen and some of the organizations you're involved with. But let's talk a little bit about how you got into the real estate business and how you came to this realization that there was more to this than just selling houses.
Well, thank you for the kind words. First and foremost, I appreciate that. I've been in the lending industry since I was in college, and just kind of had an opportunity to be mentored by some really big thinkers, and that led to several years, and then into real estate. It's been almost 17 years, I think, like 2004. So it's a while back. Probably though about 8 or 9 years ago, it was about that time between Christmas and New Year's when I do a lot of kind of introspection and think about life. And I just kind of felt hollow, to be honest with you. I was like, well, I've had some success and fun, but like, what am I really doing to make a bigger difference, like to make the world better? And I was, idealistic, like, what can I do to save the world? The point was that it was this realization of, man, I've had all these like financial goals and music goals and that kind of stuff, but what am I doing for goals about giving and like helping other people and giving them a chance the way other people have given me a chance? So that's really where it started. And it was at least probably 8-9 years ago, I think. And that led to kind of my desire to get more involved in community and nonprofits and people who had different needs, were struggling in different ways, that I could help out, in some way.
Excellent. And so tell us a little bit about your progression. Like, so that was when you had this realization that you wanted to start doing more and giving more back to the community. And what did that look like for you? How did that manifest? Was it just like, because I know you're involved in a lot, and we talked a little bit before we went live about a couple of the organizations, but within Keller Williams, I know you are involved in a lot of things there. So what did that look like in the beginning?
Well, as normally happens, I have this idea, this revelation, if you will. And then within about 9 or 10 days, I got a phone call from a very good friend of mine, Kelly Dykstra, whose sister had passed away from breast cancer at the age of 37, like 4 months from diagnosis to passing away. And so in Tammy's honor, my good friend Kelly wanted to create a foundation that would help ladies going through breast cancer treatment with meals and rides to the hospital and groceries and just moral support and, counseling. And so she approached me and said, hey, a lot of people, we need somebody that kind of help us get the word out and help with fundraising. Is that something you consider? And I was like, oh, it's funny that you should ask, because about a week ago, I've just made this commitment. So that's really where it started, was with the Tammy Dykstra Foundation. And it's still going strong. 8 years in, something like that. And we've been able to help, hundreds of families, ladies who have been going through treatment. And that was kind of the first manifestation that happened quickly after, I decided to do something more, for sure. And then that led to a few other opportunities, with some charities like Keller Williams Cares, KW Cares, and some other local nonprofits as well. Started doing some fundraising for muscular dystrophy, for a few other local charities as well. It's kind of how it started.
And then you're on the Keller Williams advisory, regional advisory board, right? For the inspirational breakfast and all of those charities that get introduced. And how long have you been doing that, Ty?
Yeah, I've been on that regional culture committee now for about 6 years, something like that. It was one of the things that I did, pretty quickly also afterwards, was to get involved in what we had going on regionally. So we, every year, on the search for people who are just doing magnificent things in the community, different nonprofits or people, leaders that are, really carrying the torch for other organizations in our area. And what's great about that is not only are we able to honor them on an annual basis, we also can bring a lot of attention and then do fundraising and support for those organizations ongoing over time. A couple of those we've done, Mindy was a big part of it there with Jacob's Mission. A couple of years ago, we got involved at a local foster community center. So foster families, kids, and parents can come there. They've got music lessons. I've been, helping out with guitar lessons over there a little bit, and they can come get clothes and food and, date nights for the foster parents, and the kids can stay there, that kind of stuff. So we did a big extreme makeover, kind of, if you will, to help them at the center a couple of years ago. And that's led to now, a coat drive we're doing now, and a lot of ongoing stuff. Mindy's been involved. A lot of other people within the real estate community have gotten involved in and out of our company that have been able to help sustain and grow Jacob's Mission. That's one of the examples. Cloud Covered Streets is another one. A guy, Robert Thornton, who they've got a mobile trailer unit that's a shower trailer. So they go to these locations around town, and the homeless population can come get a shower. They get, socks and underwear and shorts and T-shirts. They also usually have hairstylists on site to give them haircuts or shave beards. It's just a magnificent organization. And so we've started to get behind them a little bit. Part of this coat drive we're doing will help some of the homeless population this year as well. So those are just a couple of examples of organizations that we found that are doing great things. We've been able to recognize them with awards. More importantly, be able to get some more ongoing help to support their efforts. And to have the real estate community jump in along with all of our clients. And I'm sure we'll talk about that as well, as it goes beyond real estate. It goes into our client database, and it's a reason that we call them and tell them about what we're doing, And it's amazing how many people want to get involved and want to give if we can make it simple, right, for them, make it easy. And so we've actually used that as some of our lead generation strategies, to be honest, of reaching out to our database, going and doing reverse pop buys, going and picking up, cases of water for the hydration drive, or picking up the coats or, clothes that their kids have grown out of that we can donate, that kind of stuff. So those are a few examples.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I didn't prep either you or Mindy for this question, so I don't know if either of you know the answer to this off the top of your head. But so you guys do the annual water drive over at your office, at the Keller Williams Integrity First office, and you guys do a really big drive with that within the Kenny Klaus organization, Ty, as well, and Mindy, I know you guys do a lot there. Do you know how much water you guys ended up collecting this year? I know it was a lot, but I didn't know if anybody knew off the top of their head the amount. No, I'm so sorry, guys.
No, it's okay. It's all right. I know that. The goal was like 500,000 last year, and I think we surpassed that. It was a little bit less. That was in 19. In 20, I think we did a little bit less than that, maybe 40,000+ or 400,000+ bottles of water in 2020. It was significant.
And I think what was really significant about it was the goal that they made. The donation that we made as a part of that was a pretty significant portion of it. And I think that that's really a testament to folks like Ty, who, when they take on a challenge for a local organization, they really take it to heart, and they share that information of why it's important, why the organization is important. And I think, some of the things, Ty, that you've talked about, that the service that you've been providing is continuing to go on for the last 8 years, 9 years, whatever it is. I think it's really important that people understand that it's not just a one-time deal when you go and you help a nonprofit. When you share out the information of who they are, and you provide the website, and you're really educating people about things that they might just not know about. And the trickle down effect from there, like you use Jacob's Mission, I learned about them from you, Ty. And so, now I'm on like a list they have of people they can call when they just need to have stuff dropped off places. So if they have someone who gets a new placement and it's on the complete opposite side of town, it takes them a lot out of their time to go run and do something like that. So they can just text me and say, hey, in the next, day or so, can you fit this into your schedule? And for me, that's such a great way for me to be able to give back, because I can always just stick something in there. But it's like, these are things that, I wouldn't have known without you. And I'm very connected in the nonprofit world. So the trickle down effect of giving back is so much bigger than just the one event.
Yeah, you're right. One of the things too, I really give Fidelity a national title a ton of credit, because they really got me involved also in Agents Benefiting Children, which is, this is a unification event annually for the entire industry, both residential and commercial. That's something that I got involved with because I heard about it from, Fidelity National Title, and, Dina Jones back in the day got me involved just when they started the residential side. And so that's another example of like the real estate industry coming together to help kids. And they help, over the years, hundreds and hundreds of children's charities right here in Arizona. And, to be able to raise $500,000 a year for that organization has been something that's, I know Fidelity has been a huge sponsor and support from the beginning of that. And I've seen the real estate community come together, really to support those organizations. So it's just another example of things we can do to make a big impact in the community.
Yeah, that's a fun one too, because it's so many industry folks getting together, and not just you individually working with that charity. It's the industry as a whole, which I love, on the residential and on the commercial side, because they have the two pieces of it. So, and it's a lot of fun. We kind of missed it last year with given the landscape. So, yeah.
It's cool though, the industry comment though, Sharon, because if you think about the corporate sector, there's typically some required giving, if you will. Most companies nowadays have a charitable giving component, or part of their PR or marketing program is about giving back, and they've got someone who does that. Whereas when you look at our industry, it's motivated by people who are independent contractors who are serving the community. And it's truly coming from a place of individual choice. We're all making these choices to reach out, find the community, connect with the nonprofit, see who needs help, bring in our partners, work together. And it's the most organic example of building community. And it's really cool to be a part of.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I think that it's this industry is so unique because you're right, Mindy, the fact that it's made up of independent contractors and that, and having those opportunities and the agent benefiting children. I mean, it's cool because there's like team competitions. There's just all these different little components to it all. And it's such a cool thing. I want to make a clarification. So I put up this website earlier. This is the website for Jacob's Mission. So I just want everybody to know if Jacob's Mission is something that you are interested in taking a look at, this is the website to reach out to those folks and learn more about them. So, okay, so Ty, I am watching this and I'm like, gosh, I'd like to get more involved in 2021. I need to do more things. I am so freaking busy. How do I make that happen? How did that look for you to start finding the time to get involved in all of the things that you are now? You're part of a very big, very successful real estate team, and you've got a lot of responsibility in that group. So how is it you find the time to do these things?
Well, we always make time for things that are most important. And what it meant was I had become a lot more efficient at the job I do, within the organization. And, we have a internal nonprofit. So part of the way we do it is, here a couple of examples. Every open house we do, we have branded brown grocery bags. And we will staple the flyer for the open house the day before, the morning of. We're going to door knock at least 25 to 50 doors around that as a food drive. Right. I'm Ty with the Klaus Team. We're doing a food drive today. If you've got anything you can donate, it'd be awesome. We're doing also an open house in conjunction. And if you might be able to stop by and give us your opinion or know somebody who wants to be your neighbor, we'd love to have you over. If you're not going to make it, it's okay. We'll come back around afterwards and pick up bags off the front porch. So we literally turn every open house into a food drive.
And that's amazing. So you're combining the efforts, right? So that's in this one area here. Yeah, the fact that you are taking what you're doing already and you're just adding a bag to it and a couple
incorporating it all into his business, which is, it's so organic. I mean, I love it. It's
easy. It's an easy ask. In addition to that, we have Kenny Klaus started, Klaus Team Cares. And so for every funding he puts in, most of our agents put in, $25 each. So we gave away over $25,000 in 2020 just from our team nonprofit. So that we did, we had 78 kids we did Christmas for in East Mesa. We went to the schools and said, hey, who do you know, what families need it? And so Nikki Klaus, Kenny's wife, organizes unbelievable organization of this family. We had a big wrap party. So they bought we bought presents. Some of our agents would adopt those families, and whoever didn't get adopted were covered by Klaus Team Cares. We came together, had a big wrap party of all the presents, put them all together, put them in bags, delivered them to the schools, and then that way, that many kids had Christmas that probably wouldn't have had much, if anything. So we get calls a lot from the community. There was a disaster. You probably know the Hub, Kenny's restaurant, burned down on New Year's Eve, one of them.
Yeah.
Well, an hour or two before that, there was a disaster where a semi-truck ran through a house. Something happened on the off-ramp of the freeway. A gentleman that lived there passed away in the accident. And, we were able to support that family with $2,500 the next day to go get clothes. They didn't have anything. Go get clothes, food, and hotel. And, those we can act quickly, and there's no red tape, and it's an easy way for us to disperse money quickly. And we were able to do that because of the productivity we have as a team by donating transactionally.
Ty, I wanted to bring that specific incident up, and you and I talked earlier this week, and that was one of the things that kind of inspired me to want to have this conversation today. Was that when that incident happened, I didn't see you or Kenny or anybody else posting about how you went to this family and gave them money. I did see the family post, or somebody connected to the family post on social media about how they were, it was amazing that you guys had done that. But so not everything out there is getting your name in front. It's just taking care of your community. And I think there's so much to be said for that as well. That it's just doing the right things at the right times. So, I think that it's amazing that you guys do that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a good point you bring up, Don, because, not everything, we're not going to publicize everything we do. We do a ton of stuff behind the scenes nobody will ever know about. And that's fine. It's by design. Sometimes the families don't want that, or there's privacy issues, or it's not the right thing to do to publicize it. There are times that people are so grateful and they give us permission. And so, we'll put some of that stuff out there. We do with Klaus Team Cares, but a lot of that stuff is really behind the scenes that, I've got a whole list here of things. We just got the results of kind of what our giving did in a specific line by line. And there's over 30 lines of things. Pay for a funeral for somebody who wasn't able to afford one, right? A girl's mom passed away who was in high school. We were able to get her a dress and prom, a whole evening of dinner and that kind of stuff. Just little things like that nobody will ever know about, yet the community and the people who are benefiting, really do. And it's a blessing for us. And that's just one way we incorporate our business with our giving, because the more business we do, the more we give away.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can't thank you enough for sharing all of these and the things that you guys do. So, as you've evolved in this business and grown, right? So it's one thing, to be able to, put the bags when you're doing the door, or when you're doing, the door knocking and all that. But now, Ty, and I don't know what your daily schedule looks like, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty packed. And there are probably daily events where you're attending something, either a charity organization, or or that it's actually doing a function, or board meetings. So how do you manage that? How does that look now that you've got so much going on? And Mindy, I know you're doing the same too. And Amber, I know that you've got a charity as well. I'd like to hear your feedback on that also.
Yeah, sort of a similar story to what Ty shared, except it was my sister who passed away from cancer in the 6-month period of time. And so after that, I was super inspired. I never thought I would have a charity, but I have a 501(c)(3), and now for 4 years, I've run a drive where we provide Thanksgiving meals to families who either recently lost someone of cancer or have someone very sick, and the thought of putting on a Thanksgiving meal is just too much for them. And I did Thanksgiving because that was my sister and I's favorite holiday. And I delivered from Whole Foods because that was our favorite store. And I want to provide healthy food. And it's such a little thing, but the feedback we get is so incredible. It's like someone cares about me. Someone's thinking about me. I've probably gotten 20 handwritten cards so far from families just with all kinds of stories of like, we were just going to pass on Thanksgiving this year because it was too much. But instead, you brought us this meal and it brought us together and we had all these memories. And this one lady wrote how it was just so wonderful because her dying husband just wanted Thanksgiving. And so she was preparing to have to like cook and take care of him and then, didn't have to do that part. So it's little and it's something that I want to grow as I have more time. I have big goals for it. But it's like Ty said, just something you have to make a priority to give back. And it's just makes you well-rounded. Like it just fulfills your life and it changes the way you look at your day-to-day job when you're like, this is what I do. But like part of it, like my bigger purpose is to just give back and make a difference and impact lives. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I love that you say that, Amber, because I feel the exact same way. This is why I do real estate. Like I want to make more so I can give more away. Mm-hmm. And the more efficient we can become with our day-to-day activities and, time blocking that and starting earlier. I just wake up earlier, and get stuff done. And so then you can also incorporate clients. People love to give and support. To your point, Don, a lot of people don't have the time or just don't have the ability to do that. So can we make it easy, right? So all of us use social media, effectively for a lot of those campaigns where we're using a lot of times using our influence to get the message out to a wider audience. And it's amazing how much support we get from our people, our sphere of influence, our past clients. It's an easy call to make, and people want to give the right thing. We're just going to make it easy for them and convenient. So a lot of reverse pop buys. One of my favorite things to do is go, hey, I'm going to be in the area on Saturday. Can I pop by and see if you've got any clothes you want to give away or any coats for the toy drive? Or can I count on you for a couple cases of water? I come over and see and hang out for a little bit. And I'll just spend hours just going around to clients and friends picking stuff up.
Wait. To get to hang out with Ty, I just have to have a couple cases of water. Ty comes by and hangs out with me.
It's so easy.
I'll only do it if he'll bring his guitar and make a song.
Yeah.
If that doesn't happen, forget it.
I travel with a guitar.
Yeah. Mindy, so and I think that what Amber and Ty just said is really good in that you actually have something coming up this coming weekend where you are looking for help and for a charitable event. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So giving back to the community is definitely part of my makeup and the fabric of who I am. I think we have a social responsibility to stay connected with our community. And I'm so lucky to have found real estate as my platform to be able to do that, because I do think, like Ty said and like Amber said, this community, has the ability to make this stuff really accessible for people. We do a lot of volunteering at the Amy Jones Group, and time again, our agents have said, this is the first time I ever volunteered, or this is the first time I ever did anything like this. And that really is so meaningful to me, because I think a lot of people, they just don't grow up in an environment of volunteering. They're not necessarily connected to organizations who serve the community that they live in unless they leverage their resources. And so it's not because they're bad people, they just aren't exposed to it. And so we have such a great opportunity to expose people to organizations that they might not know. So this Monday, we are finishing a teen center renovation. I went to ICANN, which is a youth center in Chandler, Arizona, to do a Live, Love, Local video to highlight this local nonprofit and all of the cool stuff that they do. And I went into their teen center, and it was just a little lackluster. And teens, they really want to be in a place that they think is cool, and it really motivates them, and they're excited to be there. And so I thought, we've got to be able to do something with this. And so I'm lucky enough to have partners who believe in my crazy ideas. And all week long, the kids at the center actually demoed the room for us on Monday. They now have brand new vinyl flooring. The whole room is being painted today. Brand new shutters and blinds are being donated by Elite Shutters and Blinds. Complete Home Renovations is doing all the work there this week. Fidelity is one of our partners as well. We brought in all new furniture. And so on Monday, we're putting together all that furniture, and I need people who can put together furniture better than me, which, trust me, is not saying very much. And hopefully you have some power tools, because I've also learned people don't actually put things together with screwdrivers and hammers anymore. So I need people and power tools to join us on Monday as we put together the finishing touches of what's going to be an incredibly beautiful transformation for the ICANN Youth Center in Chandler.
Yes, so there is information on the Amy Jones Group Facebook page, which is here at the bottom of our screen. And so you can go there under events. You'll see that on the left-hand side, you'll see that this is an upcoming event. And I'm excited to be there and showing off my carpentry skills, or lack thereof.
Good, because I don't have them. I do have some skills in this world, and that is not one of them. And so we definitely need all the help we can get. I do want to just say one thing. I think COVID really has fostered an environment of what giving back can look like for people, and really opened up a lot of people's minds to how simple giving back can be. It does not have to be large scale organized. It doesn't have to be a $15,000 teen center renovation. It doesn't have to be some of the high dollar things that Ty talked about. It can be making sure your neighbor is okay. It can be putting out a table with games on it so that the kids in your neighborhood who are stuck at home can pop by and pick up one on their way out. I mean, it's organic. And that is, I think, one thing that COVID has really reminded all of us or taught some of us is that this community, the flavor of the community is given by the people, the small businesses, and the nonprofit organizations. That is the color that creates the community that we're in. That is what makes our communities what it is. And all of us have the responsibility and the ability to make a difference in that way.
Absolutely. So well said, Mindy. Thank you. It's it's in this crazy world we're living in right now. What we can impact, the things that we can have an effect on every day is our immediate community. And, it's great to see so many people who are so active. And that's been one of my favorite things about working in this business, that I get to work with so many people who are forward thinkers, who are incredible at what they do, but part of what they do is to look out for the community as a whole as well. So Ty, what does it look like? What's it look like for you to balance all of this right now? Like with all of these things, how do you manage a schedule to prioritize these things?
Well, I time block, and I use a 411, which is a tool we use within Keller Williams for my weekly goals. So I just stick to that, and it's important. And sometimes life gets in the way, and things will happen. So the answer to the question is, I figure out how to manage my time from an example of most efficiency within work, being able to get in at least 1 or 2 hours a week of some kind of nonprofit. Maybe if it's even like, posting on Facebook or going to deliver food or water or, clothes. So the answer is, it's really only an hour or two a week out of a 45, 50 hour work week, whatever it is, that I'm putting toward that. It might, but I'm also encompassing a lot of people. So I'm leveraging the connections that I have and the people that I know and the social media world to help support that as well. So it's waking up earlier, to be honest with you, an extra hour a day, I can get stuff done in the morning, and 2 hours a week isn't that big of a deal in comparison to the return it provides. A lot of us are on this road to fulfillment. I think Amber, maybe, or Mindy said it earlier, of this idea that, like, why are we doing all this?
Right.
Well, most people want to feel good or be happy, and when you look at that, it typically leads to the foundation of fulfillment. How do we feel inside about what we're doing, how we're living, how we're affecting other people? And this is one of the simplest ways. Mindy hit in the head. It doesn't have to be over the top. It could be, raking leaves in your neighbor's yard, So it's just simple little things. And in a world that's gone crazy, this is one thing we have control over that can lead to ultimate fulfillment in our life. And at the end of the day, I think that's what most people are searching for or working toward, is that feeling that we're making a difference, we're doing something, our life has meaning, and giving is the best way to feel that.
Absolutely.
And Ty, I think you said it best earlier, which is you make time for the important things, right? It's like I put out some health goals there that I have for 2021. And, people have said, oh, I can understand why you haven't been able to focus on that because you're so busy, right? Well, people who know me know that if I need to get something done in a day, I will get it done. Like, Mindy doesn't have a problem getting things accomplished. So if I haven't accomplished this, it's because I haven't made time for it, right? So giving back is no different. And so when you ask how you balance, first of all, just throw balance out the window. We don't use that word, right? That's a loaded word, right? Sometimes you spend more on one part of your life, and sometimes you spend more on another part of your life, and that's really what balance is. Let's just be honest, right? But giving back has to be a part of, like Ty said, your plan. right? You're going to do X number, you're going to help X number of families this year. You're going to, you're going to volunteer 3 times. You're going to, whatever that might look like for you. And it will be different depending on where you are at in this industry. But if it's important for you to give back, it has to just be a part of what you do. And just like you may have to say no to other things to be able to say yes to some things, giving can't be something that's just when it happens, I'll do it, right? It's got to be something that you plan out. So like for us, we do quarterly volunteer service projects at the Amy Jones Group. So those, we have them calendared. We may not know who we're going to help or what we're going to do, but it's on the calendar. We know the date. We make a commitment to that at the beginning. And then, of course, stuff ends up coming up along the way. But we've made a decision that this is part of our plan. And so this is something that we do regularly.
Yeah, and it's in a culture. We're in a culture of giving. Another practical way, Dawn, is that I work on what we call a success list. Most people you could have 10, 15, 20 things on a list to do today. You're not going to do them all. So what are the top 3 or 4 most important things? No matter what happens today, those are things that have to get done. So it becomes a priority as well. So if a donation or a giving or a pickup or something like that is in my top 3 or 4, it's going to happen. So that's another kind of practical way is I've gotten rid of these long lists and I've just made a short list of things that have to get done today. And at least 1 or 2 days a week, something charitable is on that short list, or what we call a success list.
That's a great best practice, Ty, and I think that's such a good thing for people to have, because it's easy to get lost. And Mindy, to your point about about what we prioritize, and Ty, you mentioned that earlier as well. I couldn't imagine something more true than that, because it's if we don't have food in the house to feed the kids, we make it to the grocery store, right? So,
priority.
Yes, because it becomes a priority, and so so we do need to prioritize these things as well. So Ty, thank you so much for sharing so much today and so much great information. And I want to start making the shift over to our market updates. And Ty, I'm sure you'll have some great insight for us there as well. As you guys are out seeing a lot of activity also. But Mindy, so as we look at, turning that calendar, and everybody said, okay, well, I can't wait till 2021. And now a lot of us are going, okay, well, it's 2020 part 2.
Don't put that out there.
Well, to be clear, I said that there would not be any magic fairy dust that would drop from the sky on January 1st. I did.
I already captured some. That's not true.
So, okay, well then with the magic fairy dust plan, how's inventory? No, so every January we typically see an influx in inventory because all those people who waited, they wanted to wait through the holidays and all of that. So I was just, because I've been flipping back and forth between Facebook to make sure I'm not missing any comments over there. But I did see on somebody's post that popped up that had a extremely low number for available single family homes. So
yeah. So a couple things I'd say. So you're right. So typically we see a slowdown of new inventory coming to the market during the holiday season, and we see that automatically turn around as the clock turns into the new year. And we see new listings start to come to the market at a faster rate as soon as we hit January of the coming year. And this year, new listings coming to the market seems to be a bit sluggish. I do think before we kind of dive into that, though, it is important to really understand the inventory landscape from last year, because I think what can happen when we talk about inventory levels being really low and all of the challenges that are out there for buyers and even sellers from a logistical perspective, I think, we need to put it into context, right? So if we look at the number of new listings that came to the market last year, we actually had about the same number of listings that came to the market in 2020 as we did in 2019. So there wasn't some big deficit of new inventory that came to the market last year. The issue was that we started off the year with low inventory because we've been underbuilding from a new construction perspective for 10 years. And so each year it's been getting less and less how much is actually available. And so even though we put up the same number of new listings last year as we did in 2019, we had about 35% more buyers actually getting into the market last year because of those incredible interest rates. And so those two things combined created a storm, if you will, a perfect storm of having very low inventory. So as we came into January, we actually have about 50% less inventory than we had at the beginning of last year. And what's interesting is that if you look at how inventory dropped last year, meaning when it hit the market, there were actually a couple of months where we had under the amount of typical inventory that we would normally see. So like the February, March, April, May timeframe when we were first getting into COVID, we had less listings come to the market than on average. So that means that if you ended the year with the same amount of new inventory as you did from the year prior, you created all of that inventory in a good 9 to 10 months versus a typical 12-month cycle. So the momentum is there, and the understanding of the market opportunity is there. I think the challenge is it's created some logistical issues for people that we need to help solve by sitting down and having a conversation with them about what would be best for them and how selling their house solves another problem other than just giving them some extra money in their pocket. Does it allow them to pay down debt? Does it allow them to make a future investment in their family by buying an investment property? Does it allow them to prepare for something coming up or something they're not sure of? And unfortunately, there are a lot of people in this industry that don't have that consultative approach. And so sellers are finding that they're not sure how to take that next step. And so as we shifted into January, I think we're seeing the effects of that because the new inventory coming to the market is more sluggish, if you will, than it was in January of 2020.
So what is our messaging to buyers in this market and to people who have been on the fence about selling their home?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the couple things that I'd share, and of course would love everybody else on the screen to kind of give their feedback as well as they see, you know, what's happening in their market and the messaging that their clients are kind of sharing back to them. But for our buyers, certainly what we're focused on is making sure that they're as qualified as possible. And what that means is that they have the ability to make quick decisions. So that requires that they've already sat down with us. They've already been educated on the process. They already feel comfortable with the market. They already have a pre-qualification form. If they are a seller, sometimes it means that they've already sold and maybe they're in a temporary rental, or maybe they're doing a rent back through a local investor who can provide that opportunity for them so that they have the actual cash in pocket that might be needed to pay over appraised value or to be competitive when they go into an offer situation with multiple offers. So we're basically arming our buyers with the best case scenario for them. We're trying to shine the light on them and say, this one is the best, and here's why. And that takes a shared effort between us, our partners, and our clients. But certainly buying in an appreciating market where people are forecasting another 15 to 20% appreciation in the next 6 to 12 months is something that should be desirable for buyers. It takes a little bit of the pressure off, knowing that if you have to pay over asking or you have to pay over appraised value, that the market is projected to give that back to you in very short order. So the conditions are wonderful for buyers right now. They just require the prep work so that you really can get out there and be competitive. And the same is true for our sellers. The sellers are selling in a time where they know that they've got the most eyeballs on their house as absolutely possible because they have such little competition out there. They're selling in an appreciating market. So unless they're not buying again, there is that benefit to them on the purchase side. And we can often get them the things that they need to make the move a little bit more palatable.
Mindy, this would be a great question for you and Ty. Are you seeing an increase in appraisal waivers showing up now on contracts where they're like, well, whatever comes in, we'll
Absolutely.
We want to do it.
Yeah, we see those quite a bit. And I think that's a conversation that agents have to be having with their buyers before they go in to the multiple offer situation. What are they able to do from an appraisal waiver perspective? Is it a partial? Is it a full? Are they able to leverage some of the programs like Amber's talked about before, doing a single mortgage insurance premium payment to be able to shore up some of that gap? So those definitely are conversations that we're having up front. And again, that goes to empowering the client so that when you do have to ask them to make a quick decision, like you saw the house, do you want it? Right? They feel prepared for that. They don't feel blindsided to have to make quick decisions like that. This is not something that's going to go.
And on inspections too, you're having to possibly just waive everything. Like, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think everybody's going to have a different opinion on that. I'm very hesitant to waive my client's ability to inspect a house. I think in this market, there is not the expectation. I don't believe that we're in a type of market.
You just give in to, okay, fine, we won't fix anything because we want the deal to go through. We'll take it as is kind of thing. Where they're not requiring items to be fixed on the.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I would say that we still negotiate quite a bit during the inspection period. And I think, again, we have to just remember that these are people that we're dealing with. So the emotions on the seller side and the emotions on the buyer side are both very, very high. And they're both going in two complete directions. I mean, I have clients who will tell me all the time, look how much money the seller is making off of their house, and they can't give me $1,500 to fix the roof that they haven't taken care of for the last 8 years that they've. I mean, like what people are coming into these contract periods with is so loaded and so intense that in order to keep the deal together, which is really what both parties want, both agents have to really be communicating well to ensure that they're getting their clients the most and also helping them both take advantage of the market that is now.
Agreed. Yeah. Ty, any thoughts?
Yeah, we're seeing more so caps on paying over appraisal, meaning we'll pay up to $5,000 or $10,000 over appraisal if it's lower than sales price. And of course, it depends on what the financial situation is of that buyer. You know, if they've got a house to sell, in our world, we're talking about our buy then sell program, which we have a couple different investors or programs that would allow them to buy the house first, either with cash or with a bridge loan, and then sell their house, along with giving them some money to update their house if needed before it goes in the market. And it avoids COVID challenges with, a regular listing. So those are some alternatives that we're talking about. Now, let's say you've got an FHA buyer that needs closing costs, in contingency or whatever, right? Like, they're going to be in a rough situation. So that may be, in our case, a lease-to-own buyer that can go ahead and we've got a cash investor that will buy the house for them. They lease it. They can get their own financing at any time, and they're capped at 3.5% over the acquisition cost per year. So what that means is somebody, if they're not able to be competitive as a buyer in this market because of qualification or not enough money or whatever, then this is another option or alternative where we can use cash resources to buy the house for them to be way more competitive. Then they can exercise the right or not to buy the house from the investor, and they're capped at how much they're going to pay over the acquisition cost. So any appreciation above 3.5% in the first year is money in the tenant's pocket. So we're looking at really what are the options we can provide if you have a house to sell and you want to buy, or if you aren't competitive as a buyer in the market, to give you an advantage in that kind of environment.
And I think the theme that you're hearing here, which is really important, is that you're not hearing anything shady. You're not hearing someone say, go get a portfolio loan. Go find someone who can give you, they'll give you a all cash, for you to go make a purchase. And this, again, it doesn't mean that this doesn't work for somebody, but we're not getting these solutions that put our clients into situations that might not be good for them in a later situation. We're trying to get as creative as possible to arm the client to be the strongest type of client to take the advantage of the current market, right? That's a very different strategy than I think you've seen in historically competitive markets here in Arizona. And I think it's a reason why you need to have a real estate agent who really is investigating proactively what are these other solutions for people. And the reason that we're doing it is because we're so passionate about the fact that this may not happen for us again. We may not be in a time where you can get 15 to 20% appreciation in 1 year. We may not be in a time, and Amber can certainly speak to this, but the change in interest rates is going to dramatically affect people's affordability. And affordability is going to be the only thing that will slow this train down. There isn't anything else that will slow this train down, because we're talking about building houses. You can't just come up with, you just can't come up with 20,000 houses overnight. It's just not possible. So the only thing that's going to slow it down is it literally being unaffordable for people. And right now, you've got 20% of our business coming from out of state. We're still plenty affordable, right, for some of the states that are coming into us. And so, but those interest rates, that's what's going to be a big game changer. And so until then, we've got to figure out as many options as we can for people, because their window will be closing here at some point.
And that makes for a great segue, Mindy. Let's so Amber, and I guess that's one of my long-term concerns, is that at some point, if we return to 5-6% interest rates, that those people who are in at 2.75 and at 3% will never be able to afford to move, because if they go up in price of house and interest rate, that's going to be tough for them. So I mean, it's a good time to get what you want for that forever home. But we've actually seen a little activity going up this in the last week or two. Is that correct?
Yes, it's very correct. And what happened is that after the Georgia elections, and we figured out that we switched from having a divided government scenario to a Democratic control of Senate, House, and the White House, the markets moved on that. And there was predictions that if that happened, we would see the markets move for a variety of different reasons. But interest rates went up for about a week straight after that. Every day we saw the interest rates getting a little bit worse. Over the last couple of days, we have seen them start to level off. So that's really good news. Like, hopefully we hit the bottom, and that we're going to see interest rates, get a little bit better again. But it just goes to show you that at any point these interest rates can go up. I mean, buyers are so spoiled right now. When we had that bump up initially, and I was like, okay, you're at 2.875. They're like, what? What are you talking about? And it's like, oh my gosh, it's still an incredibly low interest rate, So there's going to be a lot of education on our part on that. And then what really everyone's watching is that the purchasing amount of the Fed. So the reason why interest rates are at these historic lows is because the Federal Reserve is purchasing mortgage-backed securities. And if they decide to taper off their purchases, we will see interest rates go up. And what the Fed has been communicating all along was that their intention is to buy the mortgage-backed securities and keep interest rates low until the economy is stable, until employment is stable. Most economists think that means employment is somewhere in the 4 to 5% range. But then as soon as we saw this, government change, the question is, will the Fed taper off earlier because the Democratic Party wants to increase stimulus, which could lead to an economic recovery faster? And if we get there, then will the Fed taper off sooner? So later today, the Fed announces their purchasing plan for the next few weeks. So a lot of people are watching to see, what does that look like? Did they say anything about tapering? So far, they haven't mentioned anything, but that's what the markets are going to be looking at. And only time will tell what happens. All the predictions that we were talking about before, about interest rates staying low through 2021 and everything, they kind of have all changed now with this government change that we had last week.
So you're going to have a great update next Thursday on what took place on this. All right. What are the rates at right now, Amber? What are they?
It's still like 2.75, 2.875. I mean, for someone with like exceptional credit, 20% down, all of that. So they're still really, really good. There may be a little bit more cost or points in there, depending on what's happening with the market. They didn't jump up a whole lot, but there was definitely some movement. We were seeing them get better. And then the Georgia election happened, and then it was like worse every day for about 6 days straight. So It was kind of alarming, like, when are we going to hit bottom? But luckily it looks like we did. But I would just use this as a reminder that, like, this is not forever, right? Like, now's the time. And the affordability is the reason why the market is where it's at. And we kind of had this, they called it like interest rate lock years ago, when people were locking in the low 3s. And then the interest rates went up into like the high 3s, low 4s, and no one wanted to move because they were like, oh, do I really want to give up this low interest rate? And so we're going to have an even probably more severe interest rate lock as people have interest rates in the, mid to high 2s. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, that's something that we'll probably see, over the next several years, that we'll be watching to see how that unfolds. But it is definitely something that we should be keeping an eye on. And the reality is, it's so funny because if somebody's like, what, a 2.85, and I love Ty's reaction on that, because we're all like, wait a second, it was, well, off the top of your head, what we were at last year this time, we're in the 5s, right? Mid 4s, or mid 4s, low 5s.
Yeah, we were about 1% higher. Yeah, like probably high 3s, low 4s up in there. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah.
So and if you go back 2 years or 3 years, that these rates are just incredible. And we like to joke about our almost free money, but
what's interesting about what you said too, Don, as you transitioned to Amber, you said, if people are in houses, as those interest rates go up, they may not be able to afford something else that they wanted to buy. And that's kind of all the conversation that we've been talking to is from a buyer perspective. But when you think about it from a seller's perspective, if they're in a home with a really low interest rate, it may be hard at some point to motivate them to give up that interest rate. Mm-hmm. And so I see that there's probably some continued struggle around inventory. So even as you have that, right, it's this cycle, right? Because every time you make these interest rate changes, there's an impact to you as a buyer and there's an impact to you as a seller. And so the beauty of the market that we're in now is that you've got a benefit on both sides, right? And so I think you have a potential at some point for it not to be there. The time to move is always 50% based on you because you need to move, right? And the market's always going to be only a portion of that. But for the only a portion of that, there's going to be a time where it's not going to be quite such a balance of being something good both for buyers and for sellers.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
I was laughing because when I started in mortgages, this is Ty. Rates are down to 9.5% today on the 30. We're going to get you 3.12. I'm like 9.5%, literally like 1994, 95.
I know, it's so crazy. It is, and so it's just like lots of education because unfortunately there's so much out there with everyone can look up interest rates. And I talked to a client yesterday and she's locked at 2.75 and she was like, well, everyone I'm talking to is getting 2.5. And I'm like, what? Let's talk about this, like, that is not reality. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. But really quick too, back on the charity piece that we were talking about, what was really a game changer for me with giving, because I was just busy and I didn't really focus on it for a long time. And I just hadn't been educated on it, was tracking. Like, I'm a really big believer in that whatever you track improves. So if you heard Ty, which he's such an inspiration and what he's done, and you want to give more, just start tracking it. Like, have a giving tracker where every month you're tracking how much did I give this month. And then when you can't put anything on your tracker, you're going to feel not awesome about yourself, right? Like, you're going to feel like you're a taker. And we want to be givers. And so if you really want to make this something for 2021, start tracking your giving. And then every year you can challenge yourself to level up.
It's kind of like if you track your food that you eat, you just stop eating, right?
Okay, guys. Well, hey, listen, our time is coming up. I just want real quick to mention again the charities that we discussed today. So here is the website for Jacob's Mission, and and it's a fantastic organization. I know both Ty and Mindy are very involved. So if you have questions, you can reach out to them directly. And we appreciate everything you guys are doing with them. Cloud Covered Streets, of course, Ty's involved. I know some other folks who are involved in Cloud Covered Streets. great organization helping the homeless. I just love what they're doing. And so this is their website as well. And then this is the Facebook page for the Amy Jones Group. And under events, there is information on Monday morning. We are volunteering at the iCanteen Center in Chandler. We would love to have some of you guys come and help us out. We could use a couple more power drills and all that. And while I bragged earlier about my assembly skills, if Susie was on, she'd be laughing pretty hard right now. So, so Susie does most of that work around here. So
you're in trouble, Mindy.
yeah. So, one long leg, one short leg, whatever. It's like, as long as the place is fit.
Let's just put it this way. Susie put together the kid little car toy.
Oh yeah, because I'm not touching that. You can't buy that thing all put together. So people's brains don't work.
Probably still better than I can do. So
yeah. So okay, guys. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for everybody that checked in on us today. And some of you guys will be watching this on replay. And please feel free to reach out with any questions, comments, thoughts, feedback. And we'll see you back next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.